Ram presents The Canadian Tradition.
Well, on this week's episode, we're kicking off season 10 of The Canadian Tradition, and it's just been a wonderful journey. I've had the opportunity to really pursue a dream of mine, travel across Canada and just partake in many, many great adventures. There's no better fitting way than to kick off season 10 than with an Eastern spring turkey hunt. This is literally a bountiful opportunity that anyone in Ontario can partake in.
The Canadian Tradition is brought to you by Ram, built to serve. Cabela's, world's foremost outfitter. Under Armour, go where you don't belong. Polaris, the world leader in off-road. Steel, get the job done. Winchester, the American legend. Leupold, be relentless. Toyo Tires, driven to perform. Lund Boats, the ultimate fishing experience. WeatherTech, nothing protects like WeatherTech. And by Ducks Unlimited Canada, our wetlands, our future.
Well, last year I had the opportunity to get out with a good friend of mine, Adrian Skoke, and you've seen him on a bunch of episodes we've done in the past. Adrian's a very knowledgeable hunter, and quite simply, we just have a fun time in the field around the water together.
Before long, Taylor and I were kind of regaling last year's opening week of turkey season, and we decided to do it all over again. You know, like, why not replay that great opening to the 2018 hunting season in Ontario?
So I thought, what a better fitting way than to start this year with a turkey hunt with Adrian, and we're gonna team up and go after a wily old tom turkey. One of the things you see us do pretty well on every episode is before we start any hunt, we're gonna see how that gun performs. And we really wanna be able to pattern that shotgun just to see how your spread is gonna react at different distances. Well, Adrian, it's good to kick off the first episode of season 10.
Awesome.
If you can believe that. It feels like just yesterday we started, and no surprise we find ourselves on the firing range, and we've had this conversation before. A turkey's head is a relatively small target to hit.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And then the birds gobbling, coming in, it can be, you know, definitely nerve-wracking, and you just really want to be able to find the bead. One of the great things, and this is one thing I like about turkey season, is kind of like a mini Christmas for the turkey hunter, is TruGlo came out with a lot of great products that a lot of these accessories, like these fiber optic sights, will fit on the rail system, will secure in place, and you can adjust it so you've got now a rear sight and a front bead.
The Super X4 that I'm using today just has a rail.
Yeah.
So I'd be really keen to try those out, actually.
Beauty, man. We'll get some of these new nice turkey targets up, and we'll bust out the shotguns, pattern them.
Staple gun or roll of tape? What do we got?
No, these are stick targets.
Oh, awesome. Look at that.
Leaving that range and seeing the results of making a few minor gear adjustments, choke tubes, some fiber optic sights, can definitely give you confidence because you know exactly how that gun is performing. And you couple that with some of those Winchester turkey loads, and you've got an effective gun basically from the end of the gun barrel right out to 40 and even 50 yards if the shot presents itself.
Well, upon getting over to Taylor's house, he greeted me with some great news. I mean, clearly Taylor is a bit of an outdoors junkie and had certainly done his preseason scouting.
Another staple that I really invest a lot of time in on any hunting adventure and even fishing is scouting time. I mean, you're gonna wanna cover ground, cover the water, and look to find out where those animals or those fish can be.
This was the same property that I had harvested my bird last year to the day. With the late spring we've had, the birds aren't fully broken up into their little breeding leks right now. They're still kind of hanging on, clinging to part of their wintering flocks.
This year what we're seeing is those toms were actually grouped up together. It didn't seem like they were really henned up. Well, I tell you, Adrian was pretty excited. He knew he was gonna go in and hunt this field the next morning, so not to have to even think about contending with hens. And these birds haven't heard a turkey call literally since we left here opening day last year. You're talking 364 days of not being called at. I mean, this hunt is setting up great.
We really quickly got our gear together, headed down just a short drive to this farm we were gonna hunt. Quiet as a mouse. It had rained the night before. I slowly tiptoed my way to the corner I wanted to be in, found the same tree grown into the fence line that just made this big knotty mess.
Just gonna set up these decoys. I'm gonna set them up exactly the same way that I set them up last year because that worked really well. So, one thing I also like to do is I put my decoy out at 20 yards so I can use it as a range estimator. Using him as a 20-yard reference, very handy. We're good to go. It's been about 15 minutes now. We haven't heard a gobble, so I'm thinking all the birds are now out of their roosts and they're starting their daily circuit. Okay, we can hear a couple hens just in the bush here to our left. And before they steal the show and steal all the birds, I might make a few calling sequences.
Turkey hunting for me is exciting because it's an opportunity to get out there and really interact with the wildlife. Typically, when I'm deer hunting, you want to be as quiet as possible. You will use some deer calls at the right time of year. But turkey hunting, I mean, it's all about being out there and making turkey sounds. So I think it's really exciting when you can interact with an animal. I can call, I can hear that tom roar back at me. And to be able to do that and bring that bird in towards you, I mean, I don't think it gets any more exciting than that.
While we're waiting, something I like to do is just pre-range a lot of the points around me, just so when a turkey does show up, I know exactly when he's inside of an ethical shooting range. So, the decoy is 18 yards. I was patterning at about 40 yards, so if he's twice the distance of the decoy to me, he's good to go.
Something caught my attention. I swung my head left, raised my binoculars, and there he was. He charged in silently.
Oh yeah, he saw it, he bought it. He's coming right now, he's coming. Here we go, here we go. Man, opening morning, 45 minutes in, exact repeat of last year, just lone tom from the left. I was sitting in this same spot. He saw the decoys, we did a little bit of calling. You know, the moment you tug that decoy and they see that movement, like opening day, they're sold, they haven't had any experience. And there's a text coming through right now, I bet you that's Taylor asking.
So I was off doing my thing, Adrian was doing his thing, and just the echo of that Winchester going off in the morning sent Adrian a quick text. He said he was successful, and I couldn't wait to catch up with him and hear about his hunt.
He says he'll be here in 10 minutes. He'll be pumped. He's lying right there, 40 yards. Let's get him. That was awesome.
Little case of Deja'Vu.
Beauty bird. Nice, man.
Look at that. Opening day.
He's getting a bit wet. I tell you, birds look a lot better when they're nice dried off, but when it's raining opening day, you really don't have another option.
You gotta go out. Like we told ourselves if it was gonna pour, we'd maybe stay
Yeah.
in, but this light sprinkle.
What's you got here for a beard?
It's not bad, eh? If I recall correctly, I think I took a turkey from this field opening day last year, lone tom.
By 7 o'clock.
Came from that same corner. So I was just looking there and there he was.
Well, it goes back to that saying, right? Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Show him in your favorite turkey honey hole. He's
He'll
going to
be
come
there
back every opening day.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
ranged him. He was 41 yards.
Boom.
And I know that's totally acceptable range, but I kind of.
I mean, with those True Glow choke tubes we were shooting yesterday, your pattern's
that's what I was saying.
super dense.
We were patterning yesterday. 40 yards was beautiful, so.
Nice. All right, let's get the tag on him, and now we'll try to go after my bird, but I might wait for some nicer weather.
I was like, yeah, let Milos hunt in the rain, right?
Exactly. You bet,
Awesome.
man.
Well, hey, thanks again
Hey,
for
no
letting me come
problem.
out on one of your spots.
Just don't let me catch you here next year.
Oh, no problem. Exactly.
We got that bird and then it just started to rain, and we looked at the long-term forecast, and I mean, it was a heartbreaker to say the least. So instead of going out and just getting soaking wet, we can definitely endure it. We've got some great rain gear, but we thought there's nothing like having a nice big tom coming down and putting on a show in his beautiful colors. So I was gonna save my tag and we were gonna try to set up after the storm passed. That following day, it looked like we might be catching a break in the weather. It's starting to clear up, and we figured, hey, we might as well get out there, put some miles on the boots, and see if we can't locate an active tom.
And it was Taylor's turn. I wanted to see him get a nice big gobbler for himself.
This next part, I mean, goes back to scouting time, maintaining great landowner access opportunities. And what those two things allow you to do is when you're midday hunting turkeys, you're not just relying on one property to produce. And we cover a lot of ground in our trucks, a lot of back roads, and I'll simply pull into a spot, get out of the truck, shut it off, make a few calls, and try to get just a reaction call. I'm not looking to bring that bird to the road. I'm just waiting for that bird to sound off so I know where that bird's gonna be on that property, and we're gonna hit the field and try to sneak in for a setup. Let's get him here on. Just gonna try to light him up once more. See where he is.
Yeah, he should be right around there.
Right there. Okay, there's a bit of a pasture in there. I'll get to it. I'll go 30 yards past you. You stay in the corner, put those decoys out and try to suck him right past.
Yeah.
If he comes out in the field, I'll stop calling if you pick up the calling.
No, exactly right. He should be on that ridge right now and he won't see us.
Hearing this bird sound off, we knew we had an active tom, and now it becomes a little bit of strategy. Hunting with a partner can definitely change your setup. In most cases, if you're thinking about hunting together, you're gonna have your decoys out in front and both hunting partners are gonna be sitting side by side. What's actually more effective is to have a person sit 20, 30 yards back to run those decoys, or even make a few calls, which is gonna lure that tom right past the person that's waiting. Just the way this hunt set up, we had heard this bird. He was a long way back up on this high ridge. I mean, it was a perfect setup. Adrian threw those decoys out. I moved up another 20, 30 yards along that fence line. This part of Ontario has these old juniper bushes and these thick cedar trees, which makes a great backdrop. And we got tucked in. I tell you, it didn't take long. That bird was cresting the ridge and he was on his way in. It's a nice bird. Got two hens with him. Okay, here he comes in. Okay, that hen's coming. Okay, I've got him. That hen's just in the way. He's gobbling right there. Okay, she's clear. No, she's back in the way. Okay, I've got him. I'm gonna take him. He's gobbling right there. Okay, she's clear. No, she's back in the way. Okay, I've got Yes! Did that work out perfect? Holy cow. What an awesome hunt here. The sun was out and those birds were just gorgeous. It was so tight, he came down and that hen was directly in front of him. And I tell you, that's where you really gotta take your time and wait for those birds to separate. I mean, the last thing we want to do is to hit that hen. And luckily enough, she kept going. He turned around and stepped out and gave me about a 4-foot swath of clear path, and we got a long beard on the ground.
Man,
awesome
that
job,
was
pal.
awesome to watch. Yeah, nice, nice.
Beauty. He came off the ridge perfect, man. We brought him from a long way.
I didn't think he was going to show up.
Yeah.
All right, so you're on the board, Taylor. Let's check him out.
Nice bird.
Yeah, he looks nice. I love these big toms. What a good looking animal.
Oh man, check him out.
Yeah, he's good looking. I mean, I'm proud of my gobbler, but I know that he just wasn't as showiest just because he's waterlogged. This is a gorgeous bird.
No, this is definitely in all their glory right here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of copper into this bird. Oh, keeps on going. Beauty beard.
That's a nice beard.
Nice.
And looking at these spurs too, like
I'd
I
say
would
he's
say, yeah.
3 years old?
3 years old, yeah. That decoy's racking up some kills quickly.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. We'll get the tag on him. It was fabulous hitting the field with you.
I think we're getting good at this, Taylor.
Definitely. I tell you, if you ever got a chance to get out in the province of Ontario and go after these spring birds, you got to do it. This is just fantastic.
Where else did you want to be in April?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
It was uncanny how similar everything unfolded compared to last year. I mean, I took my bird in the same part of the same field. I had the same type of encounter with the same type of bird, essentially. So the feeling of deja vu certainly kind of shrouds this couple days of turkey hunting. And I think that was super cool that things could just play out the same way that they did last year. I'm now thinking about next year. Should we try something different? Or if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Looking back on the last few days, it's just been an awesome spring season. And to say that this hunt was history repeats itself, that's definitely true. And that's one of the things I love about doing these annual type hunts, because through the years of non-successful hunts or getting to a spot and seeing that there's where the turkeys left the field, it really helps you key in on certain areas that will help you be successful. So going back to scouting time, I mean, it takes time in the truck, it takes time behind the binoculars, and it definitely takes a lot of hunting opportunities that end up unsuccessful. When you can actually have 2 completed turkey hunts, day 1, day 2 of the season, I would say we're kicking off 2018 in terrific form.
The Canadian tradition has been brought to you by Ram. Built to serve. Cabela's, world's foremost outfitter. Under Armour, go where you don't belong. Polaris, the world leader in off-road. Steel, get the job done. Winchester, the American legend. Leupold, be relentless. Toyo Tires, driven to perform. Lund Boats, the ultimate fishing experience. WeatherTech, nothing protects like WeatherTech. And by Ducks Unlimited Canada, our wetlands, our future.
Follow The Canadian Tradition on Facebook and make sure to visit thecanadiantradition.com for news, contests, and show recipes.